all the Magenta dungeon rares rating. Basilisk Scales, one of 2 chestplates in the dungeon that you may obtain, and honestly the other chestplate has lesser potential to this, and in turn pales in comparison towards this. While it may have no mending, no additional damage stats, and no armor, its protection 2 and additional 2 hearts make up for that, making it the more tanky Magenta chestplate. It's also upgradable into one of the better chestplates in the game, Basilisk Kite. It grants you protection 3, plus 3 armor points, and the same amount of health the Basilisk Scales grant you. In terms of design, it looks like a green chainmail breastpiece, and its enhanced version looks like it was enhanced by drenching it in mud, also making it slightly thicker. 8 out of 10 early mid-game. Plaguebringer. I'm honestly hoping that someone makes a patron item from this because this item's potential can be expanded upon. It grants protection 1, mending, plus 3 armor and more attack damage, making it better for melee classes but not as much for mid-range AoE classes like Mage, Warlock, or Alchemist. It isn't upgradable in roguelike to a patron item or as a material for an artifact, making it limited to early game only. You'll see Region 1 mid-game players with this chestplate ditch it for when they have Basilisk Kite or a King's Warden, and you'll barely see any late game players using this for anything. 5 out of 10 mid-game. Tallax Mask. Yes, I have a few complaints about this. 1. Why is this the only rare item with Curse of Binding? And 2. Who the hell finds this actually useful in any part of the game? Besides it being craftable to 1 of 2 Reverie artifacts with no Curse of Corruption, I have not met any players who use this item alone for anything at all. And the fact that this item has no form of environmental or melee damage reduction, its enchants literally are only worth it for when you're swimming or if you're getting shot. This is legitimately overall useless. I don't know why the devs considered that the skin binding skull found in a temple was a good idea to be called a rare item even though it is overall useless. Even its upgrade doesn't get used as much because the roguelike helmet exists. Okay, maybe I'm roasting this item too much. The upgrade to this removes the Curse of Binding and applies Hope on it, making it an unbreakable helmet with Hope, and it is slightly cheaper than the Hellborn Crown. So if you were to do a damage test with these, then we can see that there isn't much of a difference between both of them, so maybe it can be useful in certain areas. The base rare itself though is really bad, so I'm rating it 4 out of 10 in any part of the game disregarding the upgrade. Tallax Bulwark, a shield rare, finally! Something 1.9 combat related. While you will be introduced to the Morphic Shield in the Mage's Legacy quest, and is usually preferred due to it having mending and additional speed, the Tallax Bulwark provides additional health and it being less breakable. While the rare itself can be parallel to the Morphic Shield, its upgraded variant, the Tallax Bulwark, is a big step up from a shield to a warrior shield. The enhanced shield grants an additional armor stat and 1.5 hearts. Oh, there's knockback 1 too. I don't know why it's there, but it's an offhand, so okay. 8 out of 10 mid game. Soulcrusher. It's an axe, not a hammer. It just looks square. It has better damage than the Ravager, but it isn't upgradable to anything, so its item potential is only until rare. Some warrior class players would probably drop their Ravagers after obtaining one of these, but I highly recommend just using this while holding onto your Ravager until you upgrade it. I really do hope somebody makes a patron item out of this though, because it's a very stale hammer. Axe. It's an axe. 7 out of 10 mid-game. Reaper's Harvest. Now, I personally have never played Warlock for an entire session, and I don't think I'll ever play Warlock, but I'll take other people's word for this and say that this may be one of the better sights that is present in Region 1 as of now. It has Smite 4, Mending, 5 attack damage, and has 1 attack speed, so you can't necessarily crit spam with this sight. It's obviously a really good Smite sight because as far as I know, there are Warlock lifesteal abilities dependent in the amount of times you hit or the amount of damage you deal towards a mob. And since most of the mobs in the game are undead, this gives the Warlock user an edge when it comes to clearing and tanking damage. So I'll go ahead and rate this a proper 9 out of 10 mid-game sight. Doom's Edge. Okay, can I just say that if you're going to add an item into the game and make it balanced so that it can be used in different playstyles, can you at least make it the high value non-consumable item? I mean, 7 attack damage, Mending, Sweeping 4, and Unbreaking 2 on a sword is pretty broken without drawbacks, but the drawbacks you had to choose is Curse of Vanishing. The hassle of even unshattering an item whenever it vanishes. Just give it the Curse of Dad Gone Off to Milk, because once you die, this sword's headed a one-way trip to the Iron Pressure Plate to get some milk. Ain't no ways anybody going to use this over Wild Thrasher, especially in mid-game where you have less tanky gear. The fear of even holding this sword makes the name even more accurate. Doom's Edge. The only Doom I see in this item is the fact that this looks like a knife off of Pixel Gun 3D, or the fact that if you meet your Doom in game, this sword's as good as Royal Dust. The only scenario I see this being used is in classic roguelike, because if you get clapped in that dungeon, your inventory's gone in a jiffy. That Curse of Vanishing ain't gonna work if you're already wiped. Maybe I'm too harsh on this item. Nah, never mind, the sword sucks. 2 out of 10 in any part of the game. Idol of Immortality. Hey, remember when I was complaining about the drawbacks on the Doom's Edge? Yeah, this one's consumable, but at least it helps you escape death. Void Tether literally means you can't die to the void with this item active. Not only that, it also gives you +3 armor and armor toughness, whatever that does, I don't know. A consumable rare that's actually a massive help. Now that's balanced. 7 out of 10 in any part of the game. In conclusion, all of these rares have some fundamental use to it, but I genuinely think that some of these rares have stupid drawbacks that make them unplayable. Some of these rares can be expanded upon, and hopefully I can see some future expansion that makes some of these rares more useful. Like for example, a material for a patron item or a material for an official item upgrade. I guess the only rares that you would still hold on to would be the Basilisk Scales, Reaper's Harvest, and possibly the Tallax Mask if you want a cheaper alternative to Hellborn Crown. Anyways, that's all. See ya.